Okay, I'm here with Mike Getz, former city council member. Mike, can you talk to me? You did a Facebook post earlier today about the BISD takeover. What was your purpose of putting all the information out? What is your perspective on all of this?
Well, I have a lot of background with BISD and the state coming in from 2014, but this is a different type of deal. In 2014, it was really financial improprieties. This is more related to the academic deficiencies that BISD has. And unfortunately for BISD, it's been 5 years that they've had one or more campuses receive Fs as failing grades. And when that happens, the TEA has no choice under state law but to do one of two things. They could take over the school or they could take over the district. And I think everybody was thinking they were going to take over the school, but no, they're taking over the whole district again.
We talked about in your post, you said that, HISD has done this and they've seen some improvements. You also talked about, legislation needs to change too. Can you talk about some of those points?
Yeah, I think right now the TEA has 15 school districts that are under their control, and it's kind of a mixed bag. And even in HISD, of course, the TEA is going to talk about the good things that have happened in Houston, and there have been some good things. For instance, after having like 56 schools failing the year before, this last year they had 0 schools failing. So something's going right over there. But a lot of teachers have left, and enrollment has declined. So, not being right over there at HISD, I can't really say everything is going on the right way it should. But yeah, that is certainly one thing to look at. And as far as what's the other that you want to?
Legislation.
The legislation, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you ask any teacher in BISD, what's the #1 problem? And it's class discipline, student discipline. And some of the things that need to really happen is at the legislative level, because right now you have a situation where when students misbehave, they might get sent to an alternative campus for a few days and then they're right back in their classroom. And so with that being the case, disruptive students, all it takes is one to just completely occupy the teacher's attention. And she can't teach or he can't teach. And that's something that we've got to get a handle on.
Something that I think you did point out very well was that all is not bad with BISD. You said you talked about your son and people in your life. They've had good effects coming from BISD. Can you talk about how it's not all bad, but things do need to change because of just what we've seen in the past?
Well, the #1 thing that has to happen for a student to be successful in school is to have a strong support network at home, whether there's their parents, their grandparents, the caretaker. They've got to have a strong support network at home. Study after study shows that a student that comes from a broken home, a home that's in poverty, that does not have a support network at home, has a very difficult time doing well at school. It's not impossible, but it is very difficult for them.
Something that Dr. Allen has personally said to me in interviews is that, the district, it's no secret that a lot of the students, most of them come from economic disadvantaged, areas and homes. TA comes in. How do you feel like that's going to make that difference to help this issue?
Well, a lot of what they did in Houston was they poured money into the district, and that could be what happens here in Beaumont too. TEA has kind of the attitude of we're going to do what it takes, and that's an interesting concept because BISD was trying to do what it takes, but TEA has bigger coffers and a bigger stick, and they're able to do things that maybe this local school district can't do.
Yeah. Do you feel like in the end, we talked about this is going to affect jobs and teachers? Do you feel like that at the end this is kind of what's best to do, and even at the cost it may have locally?
Well, it's going to affect some jobs. It's already started with the superintendent, but some teachers might not be comfortable in the atmosphere that TEA creates here. In Houston, for instance, it's a very fast-paced curriculum that they have. It's no nonsense, and it's demanding. Some teachers over there did not like it and they left. Might be the same thing here. But Beaumont is not Houston, you know, and so I don't know what kind of approach TA is going to take here.
Mike, one other thing that you pointed out that was really good. You said that in your post that people have reached out and looked to you as a leader in this city, former leader, present leader, to kind of get on the board of managers. That's something that's true. You confirming that, right?
Well, it's something that I'm going to think about, but I do think that there are people here in the community that are better qualified than myself to serve on the board. People that have careers in education, and even though I have a degree in secondary education before I went to law school, it's been a long time since I was a teacher in the classroom. So I do think that there are a lot of people, and I hope some of them step up, but I'm thinking about putting my name in.
Yeah. Do you feel like you being, like I said, a former city leader and having that education background is why people are looking to you to maybe take on this new role in the district?
I think so, yes. I've been outspoken on the school district for a number of years, and even though back in the days when Carol Thomas was the superintendent and things were very controversial, everything I said back then turned out to be true. It took the forensic audit to prove that. But again, that's not the problem that we have now. That's in the background. This is academic and discipline issues. So they really might be harder to solve than the financial issues, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, my last question. Looking at the timeline that BISD has set and the TA, you know, they could file a petition to kind of get the state to give them back control. Is it something that you think would be good if they have the 2 consecutive years? I think of a C rating is what they have to meet.
Well, the one thing I hope they do not do is spend a lot of money on a needless appeal. Back in 2014, they spent $1 million appealing the state's decision to take over the district, all for naught. And you know, this is mandated by Texas law. You know, when they have the circumstances that they currently have, the commissioner really has no choice. So, you know, to try to fight that is to basically try to overturn Texas law, and I don't think that's likely to happen.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to add about your post or anything about the BISD and the state takeover?
Well, you know, it went down one divergent path talking about corporal punishment, and you know, of course, I've got a few years on you, but when I was in school, corporal punishment was something that was a real thing. And just the fear of corporal punishment was enough to keep a lot of students in line. Corporal punishment is legal in Texas, but not in BISD because BISD has outlawed that. Some people say that corporal punishment is like medieval times and it's too violent. Well, heck, it's not anywhere near as violent as football. Right. So, you know, I think that, you know, having that in their bag of tricks that they can call upon is something that, you know, really needs to be considered again, because, you know, all it takes for some students is say, would you like me send you down to the coach to talk about it? And they straighten up.
There's nothing else to be said, right?
That's right.
No. How did BISD outlaw corporal punishment?
The school board did.
Ah, they voted.
It's policy in BISD not to have corporal punishment.
So district by district, you can vote to not or not have it.
Yeah, and even districts that have corporal punishment, if a parent doesn't want their child to be paddled, can turn in a note and say, I don't want my child to ever be paddled, and that won't happen.
Interesting. Mike, again, thank you so much for joining us, and anything else you want to add about this? You're always such a vocal person in the community.
I can't think of anything else, but you know, if I do, I'll let you know.
And you'll come back.
I'll come back.
Thank you so much, Mike. We appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am. Take care.
You're welcome.